It's great to be here. Really happy to share a little bit more about what we're doing at Mantra and Summa Finance and how we see the next phase of DeFi being institutional adoption. So first, show of hands here. Who has been in the crypto space since the last ICO boom? So not this last DeFi summer that we just had, but rather the 2017, 2018, 2019 area. Just raise your hand if you have been around. Only one person, two people, three people, couple people? Okay, not too many. But for those who were around back then, you probably remember the cry, the institutions are coming. The institutions are coming. The institutions are coming, just like my good friend here, Paul Revere, the crypto Chad, saying the institutions are coming back in the day. Unfortunately, this just didn't happen. And there was a number of reasons why. I think when we look forward to today, you're starting to see this change. And there's also a number of things that from a market's perspective, have really changed to influence this change and whatnot. So going forward, the institutions are actually legitimately coming. You see every other day a new headline in the news about another big name financial institution coming into the space, looking to adopt crypto, looking to adopt DeFi, and actually really putting some time, effort, and money and resources into this space. I just want to highlight a couple of these because I think they're extremely interesting to consider. So back in the day, 2019 era, everyone would have loved to have a big bank invest in their ICO token, right? Obviously, for a number of different reasons, this never happened. But today, there's actually banking institutions, bulge bracket type banking institutions who are looking to invest in tokens. Yes, there are. That's crazy. So I'm just going to point here to Nomura. Nomura actually has recently launched a wholly owned digital asset subsidiary called Laser Digital, which is actually meant to do actual on-chain DeFi activity. It's meant to invest in tokens. It's meant to have staking products. It's meant to do all this type of stuff that honestly, as a crypto founder or crypto project, we always dreamed about would happen. If you look at Fidelity, I mean, this is a platform that has hundreds of thousands of customers who are now going to be holding Bitcoin and being able to access this on their traditional platform. So things are really actually changing, and again, I'll show why. If we just talk about the sheer amount of money and capital that's coming into the space, it's honestly absurd. Whether it's from a bank, investment managers, payments firms, big tech, etc. All the big players around the world are investing into the space. One of the biggest investors in the space actually is Alphabet. I believe they're probably the top in terms of capital deployed into crypto and blockchain projects. I believe it's well over $1 billion off of Alphabet's balance sheet that's been invested into this industry. So this is only going to continue to change, continue to increase, and it's honestly going to be very excited to see what the next step is going to look like, particularly as they start being able to actually participate in on-chain DeFi activities. So I guess maybe taking a step back, why, when the crypto chads back in 2019 were asking and saying, the institutions are coming, why didn't they? I think there's a couple reasons why. Back then, the technological limitations were pretty significant. If you looked at all the different projects that were launching back in 2019 era, 2017, 2018 era, everyone was launching on Ethereum. There was no Cosmos ecosystem. There was no Solana. There's no other layer 1 options or layer 2 options for people to even build upon. And honestly, there was a lack of scalable and other type of infrastructure options available for projects to actually utilize. If you look at, even back into the summer of 2020, so what do we call the DeFi summer, right? When you had all the food projects raising money, going crazy and pumping, and rug pulls were rampant and all this kind of thing, which is another impediment, but I'll get there later. Everything was launching on Ethereum to the point where it actually became so impossible and not even financially possible to use that you had to have other scalable options. Then came BNB chain, then came Polygon, and other ETH killers, so to speak. But also there was a significant lack of regulatory clarity. Just like this guy's saying, can't be regulated if there are no regulations, right? Smart. But now there have been, whether it's in Singapore, whether it's in Hong Kong where I'm based, or in the US where we're offering and creating regulated financial products. Regulation is coming, it is here, and it's here to stay. And back then, additionally, products didn't have market fit. So there wasn't the available either custodians or other type of financial hedging products that some of our other speakers have talked about that are actually allowing institutional players to actually participate because they just weren't comfortable with the technology as it is. So I mentioned a little bit of these. Now they have working L1 and L2 solutions. There's a number of different chains who are here presenting today and representing at this conference. all these different DeFi applications, which I'm sure many of you use, were not around back then. The only DEX that really people were using were Ether Delta, IDEX, or something like that. And honestly, the experience has significantly improved, although honestly, it still has room for improvement. Infrastructure side, a lot of the exchanges were just popping up. That was really the era of when everyone wanted to launch their own crypto exchange. Wallets have improved as well. So we've really seen a really big increase in the amount of technological development that's occurred in just the past couple years. As anyone who's working in crypto knows, this industry moves at the speed of light, which never makes it a dull day working in the space, but it also means that the technology is rapidly developing. From a regulatory development perspective, we've pretty much been on the forefront of this. We basically were issued a license by FINRA back in 2019. Back then, pretty much everyone didn't really believe we even had the license. That was an interesting thing to go through. But we've been working with the regulator hand in hand. And basically back then, particularly in the United States, people would just say, hey, there's no license. We're just going to try to use existing licensing or brokerage firms to be able to offer different types of products. But they didn't have any really specific clarity from the US regulator, SEC, about what you can and can't do. Are these token securities or not? Are stablecoin securities to a certain degree? And what type of applications can I be offering to US participants or even international participants? And this has had a big impact on how we've actually seen things have been changing in the past year or so. The regulators are here. I was actually at a conference last year, exactly a year ago almost, where we were at Mainnet in New York, and it was the infamous situation where Do Kwon got subpoenaed by the SEC at the conference, on the conference floor. That was pretty much I knew the regulators were there, but that was like a, oh shit, the regulators are here moment, because they're going to be subpoenaing you at the conference for doing unlicensed regulated activities. But even additionally, now again, you see things like Biden's executive order about crypto. You're actually having presidents of the United States, or even the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, even last week is talking about there needs to be more regulation for crypto. So it is here at the highest level of regulation. And additionally, products achieve market fit. We've had a custodian to go before me. So for example, on-chain custodian, they're aiming to serve institutional clientele. They're creating products that are utilized by institutions and other different types of players. And this is across the board, whether it's Deribit with options and futures. Fireblocks is another custodian. All these different players have been able to create products that institutions need to be able to operate and feel like they are comfortable in operating within this space. Because utilizing it's good that KeychainX, who was right before me, has the ability to recover your assets if you lose your MetaMask keys or your wallet keys. But an institution is not going to use a MetaMask, right? Maybe they use MetaMask institutional. That's the next step. But again, you need to have these enhancements in the products and the technology that actually institutions feel comfortable utilizing. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what are our solutions and how are we even operating in this space. So from a technological limitations, regulatory clarity side, and the product market fit side. So from the technological limitation side, what is Mantra? So Mantra is a company that I co-founded with two other partners a couple of years back. It's basically meant to be, at that time, a DeFi DAO, which created staking, lending, borrowing, and node service business. And it was meant to be launched as a multi-chain product platform. This was, again, in the summer of 2020. So a lot has changed since then. We were initially meant to be launching solely on Polkadot, but we've also additionally launched on EVM-compatible chains, Ethereum, BNB chain, Polygon. We're building on Hedera. We're building in the Cosmos ecosystem. We built on Solana. So this multi-chain ecosystem has really developed during that time, and it allows you to operate and create different types of products across all these very high-quality chains and protocols that you can actually target different users and markets from. From a lack of regulatory clarity side, we have a solution which is called Soma Finance. So shout out to some of our Soma Finance supporters from the audience right in the front row who just came up here. Soma Finance is essentially a joint venture between Mantra and a US broker-dealer out of the United States called Tritorian Capital. So essentially, Mantra is the tech builder, the tech provider that's creating compliant DeFi products servicing the US market. And Tritorian Capital is a regulated broker-dealer entity that has very special licensing in the United States. So what does that all mean? Let me unpack that a little bit. So effectively, with the licensing from the broker-dealer, we can offer both institutional and retail market participants any different type of private placement digital security, whether it's from a Reg D, which is accredited investors only, all the way down to Regulation CF, Regulation Crowdfunding, and everything in between. What this allows us to do is essentially create compliant DeFi products that you can offer to retail users and you can create it in a way that you're going to be able to avoid any sort of compliance issues, and you can actually kind of sleep well at night if you're going to be issuing tokens, selling them directly to US retail customers. We're building a launchpad. We have a DEX where you can actually tokenize equities, publicly traded equities, trade them in a DeFi environment. Again, they're all one-to-one redeemable and backed. So for example, if you have a Tesla share, shout out to Elon. So if you have a Tesla share that you want to tokenize, you can bring it to us. We hold it in an omnibus brokerage account in custody with someone like a Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs. That would be one-to-one tokenized on our platform. Those assets could then be staked, they could be yield farmed, they could be leverage traded, they could do all these different things that you're used to in a DeFi environment. But for example, if Tesla pays a dividend, you would be entitled to that dividend. You would be entitled to those voting rights. So you don't actually give up the real-world benefits of those underlying assets, but you maintain all the flexibility and the functionality of bringing it into a tokenized world. And then finally on the Mantra side, because it's the other part of the business, we have a couple different core products, whether it's staking in our nodes business, Mantra Chain, which is actually a Cosmos L1 we're going to be launching in the beginning of next year. It's going to be a permissionless infrastructure that supports permissioned applications such like Soma Finance and the like. Mantra Finance is the Soma Finance sister, which is done internationally. We're going to be getting licensed in Dubai from Varo, so we're going to get our provisional license in the next week or so. I'm actually flying out there on Sunday to go visit with them as well. And then, of course, we have the DAO, which is what we launched with several years back. So I don't really want to talk too much more about what we do. We have a booth over in the main hall. If you want to find out more information, go check us out over there, or you can scan any of these QR codes for any of these specific products that you're interested in. I think that's all my time for today, so thank you so much for your time and attention, and hope to talk to you guys at the booth later on.